Hello, everyone. This is Cole from the American Journal of Healthcare Strategy, joined by a very special guest this afternoon, David. David, can you please introduce yourself and your role?
Sure, happy to, Cole, and thanks for having me. David Sylvan. I am with University Hospitals in Cleveland, Ohio. Been here for about 9 or so years. I currently sit in the role of Chief Strategy, Innovation, and Marketing Officer for the system, and I also lead our venture capital platform known as UH Ventures.
How I want to ask, first of all, because looking at, your resume, you looks like you went to Case Western, MBA in finance, executive MBA in finance, but you have a lot of experience over many, many years. How and why did you end up in healthcare? Because it looks like based on the resume, you could have probably had a very successful career on Wall Street or leading, financial companies. And healthcare, of course, is not always the most profitable, venture for people. So what led you into healthcare?
Yeah, it's a great story, and not the first to have asked me exactly the same, Cole. So I did work in professional sports with an organization known as International Management Group (IMG). From there, I did go to a broker dealer and a investment banking platform known as KeyBank Capital Markets. So very involved in financial instruments known as derivatives, tax-exempt bond issuances, and candidly never thought about joining the ranks of healthcare, largely for the reasons that you point out. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's very difficult. It's at times glacial in terms of the pace with which it moves, and there are, to be crass, easier ways to make more money, if you will. But then something fascinating happened. I had my own consultancy practice after I left investment banking. I was and still involved with my alma mater, with Weatherhead School of Business, where I teach on an adjunct basis, an executive in residence, and had my own small consultancy practice, largely self-servingly, because I'd also begun to deploy my own monies as an angel investor. And I thought this was a good way to get inroads into opportunities and pipeline, et cetera. There was an opportunity with university hospitals looking to start up an innovation platform. And perhaps selfishly, I thought this would be a good idea for me to really understand the workings of the provider environment so that I could start to make better choices when it came to angel investing, because there's so many wonderful tools, technologies, and processes out there. And then something happened, Cole. I candidly found, not to get sappy, but I found mission. I found an opportunity to, as a non-clinician, impact lives, perhaps. And there's a lot to be fixed in healthcare, not just American healthcare, but that's where we are. And there's a lot of opportunity. There's perpetual unfinished business, and that's what kept me very focused and engaged, and that's what keeps me awake at night and keeps me coming into work in the morning and sitting on podcasts like this. So that's the sort of short answer.
Thank you for sharing that, because it is impressive, right? After, a 20-year career in various industries, you end up staying with university hospitals for quite a long time so far. And then currently you're the president of the UH Ventures, and then of course, Chief Strategy, Innovation, and Marketing Officer. Those are impressive roles. A lot to do with the innovation, a lot to do with strategy. What is going on right now with university hospitals in terms of, or even the healthcare spaces at the larger spectrum with the strategy and innovation space? What are you seeing right now that's just going on?
Yeah, well, I think the error that many of us made previously was thinking about innovation in its own bucket, thinking about strategy in its own bucket, and occasionally the two, intersected or bisected. And I think what we're trying to do, which many systems are doing, some further ahead than others, is ensure that there's a common thread between innovation, between strategy, between the way in which we think about perhaps capital deployment or care delivery models, et cetera. There's a commonality between all of these things. And if you attempt to do these things in a silo, First of all, outcomes will be suboptimal. Second of all, potentially duplicative efforts. And third of all, no one has the bandwidth, either intellectual or mindshare resourcing or capital to run the risk of not being aligned across all of these spectrums. So innovation and its marriage to strategy, I think, is an imperative. I don't think any system nationally can afford to not be innovative from the perspective of how it thinks about care delivery, how it thinks about physical plant, how it thinks about the patient as the consumer. And that's where innovation and strategy can really dovetail nicely together.
Why has it been siloed in the past? Why has it been separated in the healthcare space for a long time?
I don't think the financial pressures were such that it forced the alignment. I think for many systems, innovation as an offering or innovation as a department was seen as a nice to have, Cole. I don't think anyone can afford to see it as a dalliance anymore. I think it's an imperative, and I think margin also masks opportunities. I think if you're living in a comfortable, positive net margin environment, candidly, you can afford to make a couple of mistakes, and whether that's hubris or oversight can be debated. Now we're all facing a bunch of headwinds, and we can. I think they're well documented, that put us in a position where efficiencies and throughput and relationships, collaborations, all of these things need to be very, very elegantly woven together. And that's where the combination now it becomes so important.
I agree. I was at a conference recently where I heard it spoken about, and it was in the context of AI and how, AI is not really going to just be able to solve a lot of the problems that exist on its own. Can you speak at all to why we've tried this with technology? We've done this with Epic implementations. We've done this with even just moving to EHR from paper, and then now everyone's moving to Epic, and now they're implementing AI in the Epic, or they're implementing these listening systems so physicians don't have to transcribe their notes. Why are all these individual pieces of technology not actually producing the amount of savings and the amount of efficiency that people expect?
I think because of the false positive associated with the manner in which they are represented or presented. This notion that if I just turn the tool on, in and of itself, that's going to create the outcome that was promised. What's really needed is behavioral change. What's really needed is for the users to actually adapt and adjust to they themselves becoming integrated with their technology, so that it isn't just quicker, faster, it's actually quicker, faster, better. And so that combination of person and process, or person and tool, or person and technology, I think is where the secret sauce resides, and not this false reliance on, just by virtue of the existence of the tool or the integration of the tool, that it in and of itself is going to be the solution. So I think it's really this notion of, are we also bringing the users along at the same pace as the adoption of the tech, because both have to align at this, meet at the same point, if you will.
I'm sure a lot of the executives listening along are saying, like, yes, that makes a lot of sense, or like, yes, we need to do this. But when it actually comes to implementing the users and getting the users to change, or having them be involved in the process of implementation of these systems, the actual process of doing that is really challenging, right? Especially from an organization like yourself. You have a massive organization, right? I mean, $5.4 billion in revenue is incredible, larger than a lot of the institutions that we've had on, even some of the larger hospitals. And so I think the scale of that is challenging, right? How do you actually include the user and get users to change when you're dealing with 200 physician offices across 16 different counties? I mean, how have you been able to do that?
Mixed results, to be quite candid. And Cole, we'll eclipse $6 billion this year, which makes us a solid middle market size institution, if you will. I think the biggest mistake organizations can make, and we've made this mistake, is by cramming down, by by forcing you to adopt a tool or technology, by impacting and disrupting your workflows without getting your pre-buy-in, without having you at the table during the process of opportunity, selection and adjudication, and not having you as part of the architecture and the design of how this solution is going to, make your life better, create a different outcome for your patients, etc. So this notion of forced adoption, I think, is a folly, and I think we and many others have fallen prey to that. I can't say that we have perfected it yet, but what we do is spend a lot of time relentlessly understanding problems. And we do that through engagement. And once we understand your problems, clinician or administrator, etc., we can then reverse engineer where there might be potential solutions versus starting with a solution that we jam on you, in the first place. So it's really a flipping of the script in terms of how we get acknowledgement, buy-in, and adoption, versus just stipulation.
And that makes a lot of sense. I wonder though, you're not a physician yourself, of course. Your experience is in the finance realm. Do you ever find it challenging to understand the problems, especially when dealing with, these physicians who've been practicing for 20 or 30 years? They have so much history in the clinical space. Do you ever have challenges yourself understanding the processes? I know for me, it sometimes is challenging to grasp.
Every day. So, what I need to do is make sure that I have on my team clinicians who have an innovative innovation or design mindset and can act as both the translation mechanism as well as the point of potential influence when it comes to steering towards an outcome. So it's never an N of one. It's always a team approach, and we bring to the table the folks with the right vernacular and the right language set to be able to, at a very sophisticated level, provide that sort of interface between what innovation is looking to discover and what the clinician in your use case and your example is looking to solve for, and act as that sort of bridging mechanism.
Back in 2015, when you started there as the director of strategic innovation, what do you think was unique about university hospitals that allowed them to have some of these innovative kind of job positions open, and then allowed you to really want to stay there over 9 years? And I ask this because you had mentioned earlier, but healthcare moves very slow. Sometimes it can be very aggravating to get innovation or change to happen. And I think an individual like yourself with experience, right? If you had not been able to impact change, or to at least be productive, I feel like you would have left the organization, right? So what do you think about the environment at university hospitals allowed you to do meaningful work?
Cole, I think it was very brave on UH's leadership side to think about non traditional folks in non traditional roles. I think it was initially seen as an experiment, to be quite candid. But then, as the experiment began to yield some results, and we began to amplify the positive results through storytelling and through engagement with a broader audience, it began to take a life of its own. And we carried that forward. A good percentage of, and leaving aside strategy and marketing at this point, but true in both of those cases as well. The intentionality around looking for folks who come from industry beyond healthcare, I think, can be very powerful. Diversity of thought, diversity of experience, you harness those things effectively, you get out of the group think and perhaps even the myopia that often, stifles healthcare. This notion that we can solve for all of our own problems in a vacuum. I think it started with a little bit of a brave experiment from a leadership perspective, and candidly took a life of its own. And my intention is to always look for those individuals who bring diversity of background, experience, and thought to the table, and then pair those with tight clinical thought leadership to come up with a better mousetrap.
University hospitals is ranked very highly, and it's also in a competitive environment in Cleveland. One of the concerns about incorporating individuals from the industry who are not familiar with healthcare is that we're going to decrease the quality, or we're going to turn this into, much more of a profit-seeking venture. These are just things that I've heard, right?
Mhm.
That we're gonna sacrifice patient care for profits. But clearly, University Hospitals has not done that. They've gotten better at patient care while also improving their margins. Why do you think they were, or what could you say to other hospitals who are looking to implement this type of innovation by bringing other people together from out in the industry, but who are facing some challenges and some concerns in the area of how that's going to impact quality? This episode of The Strategy of Health was sponsored by Modality Global Advisors. Modality Global Advisors optimizes hospital revenue, enhances patient experience, and delivers proven results. Visit modalityglobaladvisors.com to learn more.
I think it's critical to make sure that you always reinforce the base true north. And in university hospitals' case, the notion of the most needy or the most worthy is never far from our minds. And it's for that reason that certainly we don't turn down any patients. And we're consistently looking at the magnitude of our community impact. And I think once you have a mantra around mission and the purpose that you're here to serve and solve, and you make sure you inculcate the institution with that ethos, you attract like-minded folks who have this desire to be part of a mission focus, and it self-perpetuates. So I think it's that relentless reminder of the true north and the why we're here, Cole, as a differentiator.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna use that that true north expression. I think I like that. I noticed another thing interesting is you said integration of strategy and innovation. It has to happen, but then there's this other piece which is also in your title, which is even more unique, which is the integration of that marketing end of things. And so, why are you also the marketing officer? I mean, this is also a personal question because I'm interested in
Sure.
how these roles work. But I notice a lot of hospitals struggle with marketing. You look at even things as simple as SEO, and institutions really struggle with this. So why are those three roles combined?
One of our observations has been that at times marketing can reside in a silo. Of course, its role is to amplify brand and to effectuate patient capture, and through monitoring and surveillance, understand how care delivery might need to be adjusted or supplemented or augmented on either a geography or service line basis. I think what we've chosen to do is find the commonality between strategy, innovation, and marketing, and that's data and insights, and use that single thread, that single base layer to make sure that there's complete alignment so that the efforts that marketing is putting forth absolutely overlays the strategic vision, which is also powered by innovation. So it's a little novel from the standpoint of bringing the three together. But if one were to step back and think about the common language of data and insights, that there is a compelling ethos behind that.
When it comes to your time management, this is also a question for me as somebody who's still early in their career. You have a few different roles as well as board memberships. You're a member of the Board of Trustees of Ohio Life Sciences, Southwest General Health Center. As you mentioned, you still teach with Case Western. How do you manage all of this? And should that be a concern for institutions who are looking to combine some of these C-suite roles? I mean, how is the time management like that? To me, that would seem very challenging.
It's very challenging. I have no secret sauce, no silver bullet in this one, and I'm fortunate to partner with an incredible executive assistant by the name of Rose Pratt, and she tries to keep me on the straight and narrow and building time for me to breathe and walk, so to speak. But it is a challenge. I'm wired in a certain way, Cole, that I do need to be engaged and busy, and that's perhaps not for everyone. I do find commonality between all of these activities, so I try to bring learnings and insights and vignettes from one domain to the next, and that helps me consistently stay in learning mode and growth mode. And I think that's what motivates me to be highly engaged and busy. I learn something from someone every single day, and when that stops, it's probably time to think about doing something else. But clearly, I'm nowhere near the end of that road.
What is, and this is a kind of a question as well. What is University Hospital Ventures, and more specifically, in the resume it says 21 hospitals, including 5 joint ventures. This is something I don't see a lot when reading through resumes or hospitals. Can you just explain a little bit of what that is?
Sure. So the ventures platform is the investment and commercialization platform for the system. So we are an academic healthcare system. We have a large research portfolio, and where applicable, where feasible, we look to find those opportunities within our own IP portfolio to see if there could be some commercial viability, either from the perspective of a licensing agreement or royalty arrangement, or company formation and spin out opportunities, which is an area where we're fairly active. Some folks refer to that as technology transfer. We prefer technology commercialization, is a little bit more broadly encompassing. We have the equal but opposite view in terms of our side in. We look at hundreds of early stage companies a year. Again, not just looking for solutions. We start with the problems. We find potential technologies to bump up against those. And then we effectuate the proof of concepts or the pilots or the clinical trials to determine if, in fact, we can get to a positive outcome. That then also enables us to think about the due diligence associated with the investability. Is there a pathway from a capital deployment perspective which could yield both a return financially, but also impact the problem we're being solved, measured via net patient revenue or some other threshold. The strategic partnerships, Cole, are our intentional desire to have those entities who are experts in a particular domain where we're not, perhaps lean in and do it better, quicker, more efficiently than we can. And we have joint ventures with other healthcare systems, as you called out. Hospice of the Western Reserve is a partner. Some are small tools and technology companies where we do co-design, co-development, and some are opportunities at scale. We've just signed our most recent Space Act agreement with NASA, for example. So micro and macro opportunities when it comes to partnership.
It makes sense how that time management works when you explain that. So the strategy, innovation, and marketing, that goes together. And then, of course, how the ventures, you need that kind of, like you said, that common thread. And that does make a lot of sense. I mean, like, again, props to your assistant there for keeping all of that straight. But it makes sense why you'd need an individual like yourself to handle those kind of 4 different things together, because when you're dealing with these partnerships that are not necessarily just in healthcare, you need those strategy, innovation, and marketing lenses. In the industry, sometimes there's a reluctance to work with organizations outside of healthcare because we're afraid that they'll lack the domain knowledge, or that we're going to spend a lot of time re-educating individuals on how they can assist us. How have you in the executive staff there at University Hospitals been able to overcome some of that resistance and be able to make really beneficial partnerships with non-healthcare related organizations?
Yeah, two pathways there, Cole. It's a good observation. First of all, we don't underestimate anyone. Yes, healthcare is very complex and complicated, but so too are their industries. And knowledge is fungible, and if you can figure out something in domain A, there's a good chance you have a running start at figuring it out in domain B. So we will bring the clinical lens. We will bring the demystification of healthcare to that table, whilst our partner will bring their expertise in name the problem to be solved, where they've perhaps already perfected a solution that we're looking to ameliorate. So it's really finding common ground from the perspective of opportunity. It's finding common ground from the standpoint of intentionality. Every company around the world is going to have a health and life sciences component to it anymore, because everyone's impacting the day in the life of, and so we're all patients. We all need providers, but by the same token, we also need the tools, technologies, and offerings of these arm's length entities. And there is a better mousetrap to be had in certain domains through that combination. It does take a little bit of shedding of the ego to ensure that we are receptive to feedback from the outside. Not always easy in healthcare, as I know you've experienced probably to date. But again, being good listeners and meeting folks where they are from the perspective of designing solutions around well defined problems, I think is the pathway.
I really appreciate that. Some things that I need to think about myself there when it comes to shedding of the ego, even myself, right? I mean, it's challenging because we take a lot of pride in our work, right? In being experts in our work, and I think we need to, like you said, shed the ego and learn to collaborate, because I don't know if we're going to be able to make the changes that we need to make unless we do that. And clearly, you guys are really moving ahead in an impressive way at university hospitals. I think that's a great place to leave off. I couldn't be more appreciative for you coming on, David. It's been very informative for me, and I think our audience will find it very informative as well.
Appreciate you having me, Cole. Wish you best of luck, and let's stay in touch.